Welcome back, it's Imran X Mindset, aka known as Glacier. Today we are talking about the people that are stuck with a victim mentality mindset. Now, a victim mentality mindset is when a person blames a certain event that happened to them in the past for that being the reason why they cannot receive any type of success in the present moment. A person with a victim mentality mindset is like you are drowning in a kiddie pool. You feel like your head is underwater when in reality all you have to do is stand up. Now, a person with a victim mentality mindset is a difficult person to deal with because no matter what opportunities you try to give to the person, they will always self-sabotage themselves and blame the instance that happened to them. No matter how much you try to do for them and no matter how much you try to help them, because they feel like they do not deserve it, they will do everything in their power, especially in their subconscious mind, to make sure that they do not receive any benefits or any rewards for the things that people around them even try to do for them. Most of the time, a victim mentality mindset can have effect on these two types of people. They come from a family member or they come from a very close friend. You and this person that you're close to go through an experience together. It's a life-changing experience because most of the time, let's say that you learn from that experience. It was something very traumatic. You use that to sharpen your mind and be like, okay, what am I doing with my life in that sense? So your life starts to go on a uphill slope and you understand that you never want to be put in that situation again, versus your friend or the other person. After they go through this experience, they start to try to put blame on all of these things. Like they want to blame you, like, why did you put me in this situation? And then you'll see that their life starts to go on a downhill slope. And so what they end up doing is they start having such resentment towards you. They're like, oh, why did I follow this person? Why was I hanging out with this guy? Like, oh, my life this, my life that. And they just put so much blame on you. And so then it only amplifies and get worse when your mindset is growing and you're shifting and you're trying to better yourself. When they start to see, they start to get mad at you. When you start to make better of your life and a person who's very close to you sees that, they feel some type of way towards you because they feel entitled in a sense, like, why is this not happening to me instead? They blame you for the incident that happened, but instead of trying to grow from it like how you did, they just blame you and they think that that situation that happened was stopping them. In Creed 3, Adonis and Damien were very close friends when they were children. Adonis was helping Damien with his bags. Damien was supposed to be a superstar. Because of Adonis's emotions, Damien ended up pulling out a gun. The police came and ended up changing the trajectory of Damien's future. And so while Damien was in that jail cell, Creed was still trying to continue on with his training. And as you see with Creed 1 and 2, he eventually becomes a very successful person, a boxing champion, multiple titles. He's just very successful. When Damien comes out of jail, Adonis feels some sort of guilt. And you'll see many times with people with a victim mentality, they like to keep you in a state of guilt. They like to make you feel ashamed with the things that you've accomplished for yourself because they want to keep you at the same mental level that they're at. Damien, he comes back to meet Creed, and even though the first interaction you can't really sense like that tension is there, or maybe you could, it was just very underlining, but it's like you can just see like Damien he just wants a second chance in life. He's finally out of jail. Creed decides to do that for him. First he says, listen, alright, you can just work at my gym if you want. I can take care of your bills. I can help you out. Being a good friend that he is, wanting to help a childhood friend, he literally is offering to like help his life because he knows that, he has done some damage to him. Eventually, Damien starts to create a cycle of being ungrateful for the things that are happening in his life, because you see that after he gets a chance to just be a sparring partner with the world champ and he's basically being paid for that, he says that's not enough. So then he goes out of his way to sabotage the fight so that way he can get that fight. And the funny thing about that is that realistically that should not happen. Somebody cannot come out of jail and fight a world champion, but because of the position that his friend was in, his friend gave him an opportunity to basically correct all the wrongs that he did and give him that life that he wants, let him be a world champion. So after Damien beats this guy, can't remember his name, he beats the guy, he becomes the world champion. Instead of being blessed that, okay, no matter what happened in your past, no matter that you were in jail, you could have used that as your story. Look, I was in jail for this many years and I still came up and I became the world champion. You could have used that to build your story, like, yeah, I did it. You are still not grateful with what you had. And so what does he decide to do? What does he say? No, I actually don't want to be the world champion. I just want to fight you. I want to fight you, Creed. He tries to fight Creed and he loses it all. All of a sudden he goes from being the top person on the power rankings to being irrelevant, just like that. And it's funny because Damien, his life had just looked up. He had gotten a penthouse suite. He had a bad girl in his crib. He had all of these people that came out of nowhere that was supporting you. The famous saying, nobody's there for you when you're down, but everybody's gonna be there for you when you're up. All of a sudden he wants to throw that all away because he still cannot forgive Creed for what he did. And the second example that I can give, in Bel Air, you see that Will, and I think it's from his Trey, Will gets into this little scuffle with this bully from Philadelphia. And I guess the bully from Philadelphia tells him, listen, pull up to the park if you're really like that. Now, you have to understand, you have to stay away from temptation like that. Because you'll see that when people's egos are fragile, they try to purposely bring you down. When somebody's ego is already fragile, if you destroy what little ego that they have, they literally hate you. They will punish you because you succeeded with yourself, and so they want to take that anger out on you. So it's like, it's best to just stay away from people like that as well. But Will had to learn the hard way. Will goes to the park, he meets up with him, and Will is beating him. Will is, obviously Will, he was like a 5-star in the show. Like he's a very good basketball player. So obviously he felt confident with his skills, and the other person, he felt confident in his skills, but he knew he was not good enough. So what ends up happening is that I think after like Will like embarrasses him or something, his ego is fractured, like I said. And so he decides to, you know what, when somebody loses in basketball, what's your hands like? What's your hands like though? A fight breaks out and Will brings out a gun. Will doesn't end up doing anything with the gun, but the police come, they arrest him, they arrest his man Trey. What ends up happening is their lives go on 2 different paths. Will ends up going to Bel Air and having a new beginning, versus Trey stays in the same space and he's just reminiscing about that moment. Or let me not say reminiscing, constantly being reminded of that moment, because I think his arm was in like a sling. So it was like he just had that constant reminder of like, because of his friend's actions, this ended up happening to him. When Will goes to Bel Air, he decides to capitalize off the opportunity. Even though at first he was rejecting it, he was like, I want to go back to Philly. Once he's seen the opportunities that he could have been blessed with, he decides to say, you know what, let me capitalize off a bad situation that happened to me and let me grow as a person. And so he does. We see throughout the show the growth that he makes towards himself and the future that he starts to build. Now, you see the episode when Trey comes back, or when Trey visits Will in Bel Air. We see that Trey mentions, okay, so when are you coming back? And Will's like, man, I think it's just better for me over here. We start to see that the emotions that Trey has been suppressing come to life. Like, oh nah, man, that's messed up. So while I get shot, while I get beat up, I get jumped, I gotta stay in the same place, but your life gets to get upgraded? Nah, I'm not really with that. So instead of thinking about his friend starting to have a better life, he's thinking about, why did my life get worse? Why did my life not receive that drastic improvements? And that's the thing with a victim mentality. Because I think in the show too, Will even offered, listen, I can help you. Like, if you want, I can move you to Bel Air. And Trey actually rejects it. He's like, I don't want to come here. I like Philly. I like being home. So because of that moment of anger, that moment of rage, you don't even see opportunities that are being blessed to yourself. And when you have that victim mentality, you seem to just be blinded to all the opportunities that are being brought to yourself, because you feel like that one instance has blocked all of your blessings. It's quite literally like your friend that you say ruined your life tries to go out their way to correct the wrongs that they did, but you still do not accept it because you want them to somehow go back in time and correct that wrong, that certain wrong that they did to you in the past. People with a victim mentality, they're going to constantly put you in guilt. They're going to constantly try to make you feel guilty for what you did to them. But that's why God even says to forgive yourself. And you have to learn to forgive yourself, because you have to understand that people are going to make mistakes throughout life. It's the people that grow from their mistakes that they continue to improve in life versus the people that make mistakes and then continue to just keep on making the same mistakes and then blaming other people for it. At the end of the day, Trey should have been grateful that your friend, your very close friend, your best friend, is going to Bel Air. He has rich aunts. If you want to, like, he could fly you out. You guys can go to parties together. You guys can go to suites together. And then if he even ends up going to the NBA, you are going to be blessed. Damian literally, his first fight was a championship bout. He literally got to fight for a championship title. His first fight coming out of jail. It's like, if you even look in the Bible, imagine Joseph after he was thrown in jail for being falsely accused of sleeping with the king's wife. After he got out of jail, he decides to say, you know what? Nah. Because the king, after Joseph got out of jail, the king realized, like, oh, dang, like, there was a mistake that was made. He was thrown into jail for the wrong reasons. So the king decided to bless him, bless him with great riches. Imagine if Joseph was like, I don't want the riches. No, I don't want it, bro. I don't want it, bro. I'm sorry. I went to jail for no reason. I don't want it. That's not what happened. In fact, all that he wanted was that for his name to be cleared up. That's it. He just didn't want to have the wrong reputation. He didn't live in the past, but he just didn't want to have that reputation on his name. And he gratefully accepted everything that was given to him. When he saw his siblings that sold him into slavery, he didn't have any anger towards them. He didn't say, bow down and kiss my feet, this and that. No. He said, listen, I know you did what you did, but I forgive you. Here, take some riches while you're at it. People with a victim mentality are always trying to put you down because they feel like they are down. A family member will be blessed with the same opportunities and they will still get mad at you because you're trying to capitalize off the same opportunities that they had. Two people can come from the same house but can turn out to be two completely different people. It's funny, but it just goes to show, like, it's all in the mind. There was a photo that I saw that it was like, it had two people sitting next to each other. One of them was homeless, asking for money, and the other person was like a businessman. And then they asked each other the question, how did you end up like this? And they both said the same thing. My father was an alcoholic. You'll see that it's in the mind. And this is why I'm Imran X Mindset, because I like to put a lot of emphasis on your mind. You have to grow the mind because your mind is what's going to take you further. Your mind has the power to put you in a mental stronghold so that way you cannot grow. Or your mind can create such a beautiful garden that allows every thought you have to blossom into a beautiful action. You have to understand that you are going to have up and downs in life. There are going to be situations that are going to possibly change the trajectory of your future. But you have to understand that opportunities come and they go. No matter what might have happened to you in the past, a new opportunity can still arise for yourself. How many rappers do you see they go to prison? They still come out of jail and they still become successful. They still become famous. It's the same thing for everything in life. There are going to be some moments that you're truly going to be tested about the values of your character. And you're going to be presented with two options. Grow from it or have it destroy you. You have to stay away from people with a victim mentality, and it's tough because, like I said, it's either family members or it's a really close friend, because they're always going to blame you because they feel like they're not growing because of you. But how can another person truly stop your growth? If it is written in the stars, another person cannot dictate and determine the level of success that you can achieve. Because at the end of the day, good will always prevail. The determined will always break the disbelief. Stop drowning in that kiddie pool and saying, help me, help me. Get out of that water. Get out of that water and begin your new chapter. Begin your next phase. Do not miss out on the new window of opportunity, the new window of chance, because you feel like that one window has closed. Don't you know the saying, when one door closes, another one opens? Find the new door. Find the new opening for what you're meant to do. God works in mysterious ways. What happens if that destiny was not made for you? What happens if the future that you think you would have want was not actually the future that you need? Was not actually the future that was going to make you be the best version of yourself? You have to understand, if it's meant to happen, it will happen. It will happen. So to wrap it up, stop allowing yourself to be put down by people with a victim mentality mindset. Stop allowing yourself to be placed in guilt, feeling like, how could I mess this person's life up? At the end of the day, that person has a chance to pick themselves up. They have a chance to pick the pieces and rearrange themselves to get their life back in order. They choose to stay in that place. They choose to keep looking at the old version of you. So no matter how much character growth you make to yourself, they will still always blame the old version of you. And that's why it goes back to my self-projection video. You cannot allow people to judge your character when you know who you are. Not everybody's around you 24/7. So somebody could say you're the most lazy person ever, but you work 24/7. But if they don't see that, that's all they know. All they know is they see the lazy version of you. They see the version of you that comes home and you just want to lie down. They don't see you getting up at 4 a.m. going to your 8-hour shift. They don't see that side. They only know what they see. And so you have to know your truth. You have to stand in your truth. Because some people's perceptions can really be so invalid that it's almost insane how you two went through the experience together. So stand strong in your truth. Learn to grow off bad situations that happen. Life is up and downs. Bounce back. Don't allow another person to put you down. Don't allow another person to make you feel ashamed because you decided to grow from something that happened between you two. Make you feel ashamed because you want to make that change for your life. You wanted a better life and you went after it. Never, ever, ever feel ashamed for wanting to better yourself. At the end of the day, I ain't a preacher. I'm just a guy talking.